When were you in Millington? What year?
I was in Millington in '96.
Big.
Interview that I did when I was 11. And thank you for joining us for Lunch with a Veteran. This has been Bob Cabaniss, twice recipient, two-time recipient of the Purple Heart, Vietnam veteran, and member of the Marine Corps League, and former enlisted Marine, and member of the Army and Air Force. So, very, very rare individual. Thank you. Hey, thanks for sitting down with me. 96.
Well, Elvis's place is we called it on the highway to the airport. There's nothing there.
Right.
His big mansion.
You talking about Graceland?
Yeah, Graceland.
Man, I've been to Graceland a couple times. Every time somebody would come and visit me
Yeah.
in Millington, they'd want to go to Graceland. You know?
Well,
we go to Bill Street too.
Well, you know how busy that highway is now. It's a big,
Yeah.
big 4-lane. Well, it was just a little 2-lane road back then,
Right.
going out there. So he had the big mansion there. Of course,
Did they have the plane there?
No.
So they've got the plane there now
Yeah,
too.
none of that was there. I've been there since all that.
Right.
But there was nothing there. Just that his big mansion there was about it. And literally, it was a 2-lane road going to the airport. That's all it was. There was nothing there. It was empty. You know?
Mm-hmm.
So he made a movie.
And you were in the Marine Corps at that time.
Right.
Right.
So he made a movie with Ann Margaret,
Mm-hmm.
and they were engaged at one time.
What was the name of that movie?
Oh, gee, I don't remember. I think Viva Las Vegas, maybe. That might have been it. But anyway. So anyway, he sent his guys to the base
Mm-hmm.
and said he was having a big party at his house.
Right.
And if any Marine would show up in their dress blues, they were invited to the party.
Mm-hmm.
Right? He was big on Marines. So I had no fish set shit away.
Wasn't he in the Army?
Yeah, but later on.
Okay.
Later on. So anyway.
But I mean, he was in the Army in World War II. Wasn't it World War II?
No. He was drafted in the Army and went to Germany and spent a couple of years over there and came back.
But was that during
No, that was back.
Second World War?
No,
Or was that during Korea?
He's not that old now.
Okay. I didn't think so.
I'm 72. He would
Yeah.
have been 82 or something. He was about 10 years older.
Okay.
So anyway, here's that. This is before he was drafted, right?
Mhm.
This is when he was giving away pink Cadillacs to people. And stuff
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that. Like I said, 1963.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, he invited us out there. Myself and 3 other guys had dress blues, and so we got an old car and drove out there.
Right.
So we, when you go into Graceland, you walk in the door, and you got sort of a hallway, and if you remember, there's a little balcony up there, not much of a balcony. He and Ann Margaret were standing on the balcony.
Mhm.
And you walk in and you say hello and all this. So you walk on through the house, and in the backyard they have barbecue type thing set up back there, hamburgers and stuff like that. So we went back and we ate hamburgers and we stood around. We got kind of bored, kids, something not going on, you're interested to leave. So we were going to leave. So as we were getting ready, we stayed there maybe 2 hours, getting ready to leave. And
I would have just hung out.
so we did for a while, and if things started kind of
Go to the jungle room or something.
well, we didn't get to do stuff like that. But we were leaving, and he sent his guys out and said, Elvis wants to play touch football. Stick around. We want you Marines to stick around.
Yeah.
So then we got dress blues on, right? That's the most expensive clothes I think any of us have had to ever own, And we thought, well, we'll stick around. Well, back then, the front lawn didn't have any trees on it.
Mm-hmm.
It maybe had a couple of saplings, but it didn't have these big oak trees that are out there now. So we played touch football on the front lawn with Elvis. Now you couldn't get near him because he had these big bruisers, knock you away. So we there was a bunch of people out there playing. But I can say that I at least played touch football with a guy.
With Elvis.
They never got within 5 feet of him, the bruiser would kill you. So anyway, we got bumped around a little bit, and we said, we need to stop doing this because we're going to mess up our dress blues. So we stopped, and we just stood there and watched for a while, and then we left. So I can at least say I played touch football with Elvis.
That is pretty cool. That is cool.
Like I say,
And that you
now
were
the front lawn it has these huge oak trees.
and that you were in Millington, Tennessee, the same place that I was stationed for training, doing AE school. And I was doing
Well, AE school was in Jacksonville, Florida, NAS Jacksonville.
Okay.
So I went to AE school, and myself and my buddy did well. So we went to our next squadron, which is New River, North Carolina, and we had our choice of squadrons, but we did so well in school. So the base commander said, what squadron do you want? Well, we had no idea. You know, he said, well, now this HMM 261, he said, it's going to Spain, and France, and England. Joe and I looked at each other and we said, that's what we want.
Yeah.
So we got in it and found out about a year later, we knew it was a frozen squadron. Once you got in, you couldn't get out.
Right.
And I don't know if they had this plan then or not, but we wound up going to Vietnam as a squadron. And that was one of the first times I think that there was only, we took over from a group that was over there for about 8 months and took over their helicopters. But we went as a group, so we all knew each other. You know?
Right.
That's interesting. But when I got to the squadron, the guys said, or the commanding officer said that all the crew chiefs were mechanics.
Right.
But he said, we need a crew chief that's an electrical guy, because a lot of the problems they had when they went down someplace was electrical. So they chose me and they sent me back to AT school. So I was an AE and AT, and a crew chief. So that's
Cool.
what I did.
So you were both, so you're a Vietnam vet as a Marine,
Mhm.
but then you've been in multiple branches of service as well, more than just the Marines.
Right,
You've been in 2 others,
right. Army and Air Force.
Army and the Air Force.
The Army National Guard, Air National Guard.
How does that happen? How do you hit 3?
Honestly,
Other
what
branches of
happened,
service?
when I got out of the Marine Corps, I really intended to stay in the Marine Corps. And when I did my re-enlistment lecture, I asked the commanding officer, so I've got Purple Hearts. I wound up in
Did you say you had a Purple Heart?
2.
2 Purple Hearts?
Yeah, so I wound up in the Naval Hospital in Key West for a while,
Okay.
convalescing from my wounds.
In Vietnam?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so we got shot up a lot over there. Anyway, the re-enlistment lecture came around and I asked the commanding officer, I said, now if I re-enlisted in the Marine Corps, am I going to wind up back in Vietnam? And he said, oh yeah. And I'm thinking to myself, oh no. You know, they tried to kill me the first time, almost did it. I'm going to give them another chance. So I said, well, I thought about it. I said, I need to consider this. And I did. So I got out, completely out of the military. And went to work for RCA.
I thought maybe you were.
Bob was telling us about, Bob was telling us about how he managed to be in 3 branches of service. Bob is a Vietnam veteran who had played touch football with Elvis at Graceland in the front lawn,
In 1963.
and has 2 Purple Hearts, by the way,
Wow.
which is unreal
Oh,
from
wow.
Vietnam.
So, well,
That is impressive.
the first Purple Heart was what I call my John Wayne wound.
Mhm.
Okay. I was 4 helicopters in Vietnam, and this was, I think, the second one that we got shot up. We landed hard, and I thought that I had snagged my flight suit getting out of the helicopter because it got banged up. So, that was 2 or 3 days later, I finally went to, it wouldn't quit bleeding. You know, I was doing this all day long. Just didn't leave a spot of blood like that on your flight suit. I didn't really think too much about it. Finally went to the doctor and I said, look here, why does this thing keep bleeding? What's wrong? And he got to digging around there and started pulling shrapnel out. He said, my God, you've been wounded. I said, really? You know, so he's pulling these little fibers out that look like strained electrical wire. That some of the strands got knocked in there. So he pulled out 5 or 6 of them. He said, oh my God, we'll put you in for a Purple Heart. I said, don't do that. It's just a little spot. It looks like a vaccination scar.
Right.
So my buddy Mitch Carpenter got wounded also. He got hit right across the bridge of the nose. Looked like somebody took a pocket knife and just went, you know,
Right.
nothing. So a month later or something, they had us lined up in a line with some of these Mud Marines giving us Purple Hearts. So the Air Wing in the Marine Corps, the Mud Marines consider us to be almost Air Force. You know,
Right.
we're kind of, you know, you're not really a Marine.
Sure,
You wear the uniform, you're not really a Marine.
Right.
So we're standing in line, and these, I was 8 or 10 of us standing there. There's this colonel walking down the line giving these Purple Hearts out. So he stopped in front of one of these poor guys that really got really got hurt. I mean, he's got his arm all bandaged up or his head or something. And he'd say, now son, how were you wounded? And the guy said, well, I stepped on a landline or, really got hurt. So the feet's coming down the line. So we got to Mach, and the air wing didn't blouse their boots. We were working on these old piston engine helicopters that were nasty. Our uniforms were oily. We just looked bad, and hair down to here. I mean, it was early Vietnam. You couldn't get food. You couldn't get anything, Our uniforms were rotting off of us literally because of the cotton, and you never got dry.
Not good for the jungle.
Yeah. So anyway, we're standing there, and we look like Fido's rear end. And he's standing there, and the guy walked in front of Mach, and he said, son, where were you when injured? And he said, right across the ridge of my nose, sir. And he went, where? It was all healed up, He went, right there, sir. He looked, and he said, oh, I see it now. He looked and down like this, and he went, you're in the air wing, aren't you? Mach said, well, yes, sir. You can see him going, air wing.
Right,
so
right.
They pinned a little Purple Heart on. So then he walks over.
But I can't say anything. I was in the Navy.
So he walks over to me. And he's looking at me, and he said, now, son, how were you wounded? I said, oh, I was shrapnel on the back of my arm, sir.
Right.
He said, shove me, rolled his sleeve up, shoved him in, and he went, you're in the air wing too, aren't you? I said, yes, sir. So he pinned it on the wall.
But you get wounded, yeah.
I know, well, I mean,
Sounds like that wasn't the story with the second
these guys, no, but these guys were hurt. I mean, they were hurt,
Right.
And I guess some of them got sent back to the States because they were really bad.
Yeah, they couldn't continue.
So that was kind of funny. It was funny. It was embarrassing for Mitch and I. We wanted to crawl underneath the nearest rock, And you can see these mud marines that were looking at us out of the corner of their eye, thinking, "Hey, a bunch of monsters," So that was it.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Second time they sent me home.
Second time they sent you home?
Yeah.
Okay.
But anyway, that's 50 years ago.
50 years ago.
Well, let's see. Actually, 52 years ago.
Okay.
A long time.
And then, but you ended up back in the service.
Yeah, after I got out, and I was out for probably 5 years, 6 years probably, I don't know, something like that. And I wanted to buy an airplane. I'm an aircraft nut. And I want to buy an airplane, but I didn't want to spend family money. So I thought, well, I missed the military anyway. So a long time ago, back in the 50s, my dad was a commanding officer of the Army National Guard unit in Shelby. And I didn't really think about it, but I thought, well, I'll go check it out. So I checked the Air Guard out, and because of course they have airplanes, and they didn't have any openings. They were just completely full. I said, okay. So I checked out the Army Guard, went to the Armory down here in Shelby, and walked in the door. And there sat behind the desk was a man named Gus Gregory, who was a wonderful guy. He's still alive. I see him once in a while. He's a
Gus Gregory?
Yeah, he is a wonderful man. Anyway, I walked in, and I had remembered Gus from my dad. That's a long time ago, And I saw Gus, and I walked in, and I said, Sergeant Gregory, and he looked at me. He said, yeah. He said, who are you? And I said, Bob Cabaniss. And he said, Bobby Cabaniss? Because that's when I was a little boy, everybody called me Bobby. I said, yeah, Sergeant Gregory's Bob Cabaniss. He said, my God, Bobby, come over here and sit down. Shake your hand, because he's known me since I was a little boy. And he said, what are you doing down here? I said, well, I've come down to see, about joining the Army Guard. I said, but you guys don't have any airplanes out there. What would I be doing? Because my MOS was aviation. He said, just come down here and look around. He said, if you see something you like, just let me know. I said, where do I sign? I signed right there. So I was in the Army Guard 12 or 13 years in Shelby, and got promoted and did well and all that, and enjoyed it. Met some super nice people. Still stay in touch with them. And they kept telling me that they were going to make me the motor officer for the western part of the state, warrant officer. And they kept jerking me around. This went on for 2 or 3 years, and finally I just got fed up with it. I said, either do something or tell me, because I'm tired of listening to you jerk me around. And in the meantime, I went to the Air Guard in Charlotte, and they had an opening in avionics. I said, So what do I have to do? They said, well, you have to actually be discharged from the Army take the ASVAB test. It's like you're a recruit and
Like
you're
you're-
signing up and all
yeah.
that stuff. So that's what I did. And joined the Air Guard, I never looked back. I love the Army, they're fine, they're good people, all that stuff, but the Air Guard is a whole nother world.
Right.
They're very, very professional, and good, gosh, I went all over the world with the Air Guard.
Really?
I mean, good night. I mean, I went literally all over the world. And in the first Gulf War with the Air Guard, we flew in and out of Bosnia. We were involved in just cause in Panama. A lot of stuff that we did that the Army guys just didn't get to do, you know. So, and I wound up being the first sergeant over there. First sergeant's like master chief, you know.
Sure.
You're kind of in charge. Well, you are in charge of all the enlisted guys.
Mm-hmm.
And the commanding officer called me up to the office one day, and he said, "I'd like for you to be my first sergeant." I said, "Now, sir, you know my reputation." He said, "Oh, I know your reputation." I said, "Well, what do you know about my reputation?" He said, "You despise officers." I said, "I do."
Because you work for a living.
Yeah, and that's right. That's right. And he said, "Well," he said, "you're not going to be over the officers. You're going to be over all the enlisted guys." I
Right.
said, "Okay." I said, "Why?" I have to ask. I said, "Why did you choose me to be the first sergeant?" He said, looked at me like I was crazy. He said, "Because you're a Marine." I said, "Okay." And he said, "We need somebody to straighten this place out." So that's why they chose me. Now, funny story. I was first sergeant when we switched over from the green uniforms to the blue uniforms, to the camouflage stuff.
Yes.
Well, in the Air Force, which Air Guard's purely the Air Force, it might as well have been regular duty, I was over there all the time. Each shop, like the engine shop, wore blue ball caps.
Mm-hmm.
The electronic guys wore green ball caps. The tin vendors wore maybe red ball caps. Everybody had a different color ball cap. And that differentiated you between what shop you're in,
Mm-hmm.
without having to say, "Who did you work for now?" You know, because you knew what color. All right, well, they had to get rid of that. And they had to wear the camouflage BDU cap, which they hated those things. I don't like them either. But anyway, so that was one of my deals, is to make sure you're wearing the proper uniform. You have to blouse your boots now. You have to wear the proper uniform. You can't starch them, yada, 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 you know. So, what these guys were doing, they were slipping down a Sears Roebuck and buying a mesh-backed Sears Roebuck camouflage ball cap. And I said, "You can't do that. You have to wear the proper cover, proper hat." Well, you know, I said, "You got to do it." So I was really tough on that. I was going around snatching hats off it. I can't do that, can't do that. So I knew that we're getting a new commanding officer. So we're standing in formation one Sunday out on the ramp with all the people out there. So the first sergeant goes out and brings everybody to attention, calls the roll, this and that. And then the XO comes out and you give the squadron to him, and then you go stand behind the squadron with the chiefs in another line.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm standing behind the squadron, and I look, and there's some guy with a mesh back ball cap on right in the middle of my squadron. I said, "Oh, damn." So the commanding officer, base commander's up there talking, so I slipped down there and I eased behind him, and I said, "When this formation's over, you get your butt into my office. I'll talk to you." And I looked down, the guy was a major. I said, "Sir, what are you doing standing in my formation with my enlisted men?" He said, "Well, I'm the new commanding officer." And he said, "That's where I thought I should stand." I said, "Sir, you don't stand in a formation with the enlisted men." I said, "Come back here and stand with the chiefs." He said, "Well, I didn't know." Come to find out, he'd never done anything in the Air Force to fly airplanes.
Mm-hmm.
He had no clue.
He had flown airplanes.
That's all he'd ever done.
Yeah.
And they'd never been in charge of anything, just flying airplanes. So he came back, stood next to him, and he said, "I think I need to come in your office when this is over. You need to teach me how to do my job." I said, "Sir, we're going to get along just fine." And that's what.
There's a lot of truth to that. I mean, I'm
there's
sure
a
there
lot
are
of
officers
truth to
that
You know, and when I took the job as
they're
first
dependent
sergeant,
on the enlisted.
yeah, when I took the job as first sergeant, I had a secretary named Linda. She had been secretary for the previous first sergeant, who was retired. He'd been there for years. So I went in there and I said, "Linda, I'm your new first sergeant." She said, "I know." And I said, "I'm here for you to teach me how to do my job."
Right.
She said, we're gonna get along just fine. And we did.
You know, here at the firm, it's the illusion of me being in charge. That's not it at all. I really work for my business manager, Susie Glazer, and our office manager, right? And Hayden and everybody else. And I try to push my agenda sometimes, but you gotta have buy-in from everybody to be able to do it. So that's a great way to lead.
Well, I told my commanding officer, my new commanding officer, I said, look, when you get a new butter bar lieutenant, this is a guy right out of school, the ensign for you. I said, how about sending him through my office before you send him out to his job, please? He said, why? I said, well, I just need to talk to him, So he did. And these guys would come in and they would always put them over a shop, like the engine shop or avionics or something. And they didn't know anything. So I'd bring him in there and I'd say, sir, you're a brand new officer. Congratulations and all this other stuff. And I said, I'm just a new enlisted man. He said, yeah, just got stripes down to there. I was an E8. And I said, well, still, I'm not an officer. You're an officer. And I said, now you're going to be the OIC of the engine shop. And I said, now Chief Jones, Chief's an E9. I said, Chief Jones has been the chief down the engine shop for about 15 years. And I said, he knows pretty much what he's doing. I said, do yourself a favor and go down there and introduce yourself to Chief Jones and say, I'm here for you to teach me how to do my job. And I said, you'll get along fine. It'll be good. I said, but now if you go down there and start throwing your weight around, I said, next thing you know, Chief Jones is going to be on the phone with his buddy in the Pentagon and you're going to wind up in Alaska. I said, you remember these chiefs, they know everybody. And I said, they all owe each other favors and all they got to do is make a couple of phone calls. And I said, you can make your life miserable. I said, so go down and listen to him, be nice. And they do that. The man officer came in there after I'd been there for a couple of years and said, well, these new guys, he said, they're doing good. And I said, well, they're doing what I suggested that they do, is to go down and talk to the chiefs and be quiet, listen, learn. That's how you learn things. You talk to them, it's like we're talking about War II guys. Those guys know, they've been there and done that. You need to listen to them.
When we eat lunch in a second, I want to show you that the interview that I did with my grandfather about World War II. He would never talk about the war. And my grandmother and my mom, was really hesitant and scared when they knew I was doing this interview and tried to get me not to do it. But he was okay with me doing it. I was the firstborn grandchild, and we were really close.
But you were in the military too.
Not at that time. I was like 11 years old.
No.
You'll hear it. I mean, I'm a kid on this thing. I had a tape recorder in one of the mics, and it was for a school project. And I sat down and did it. But the family loves that I did that because it's really one of the only recordings of him, and one of the last recordings, and the only recording of him talking about a war.
Well, military, that's good. My first wife's grandparents, they were 90 years old when we got married. They lived in Falston, they passed away now, in a little tiny house out in the country. And I told her, I said, we need to go sit down and just talk to them sometime. Just talk. So we did, and she found out stuff that I would have never thought about this. Her grandmother came to North Carolina in a covered wagon in the 1800s. There were no roads, there was no electricity, nothing else. And they moved into that little house in 60 or 65 or something, right after the Civil War. And she said, I didn't know all that stuff. I said, you never know until you talk. These older people have a wealth of knowledge that we don't bother to tell.
Well, I think that some of the stories, like we're talking about, like what I did with my grandfather, are really what you want to pass on to the next generation. I talk about the fact that your legacy is not just the money you have or the land you have. It's really all the knowledge that you've acquired, right? That was handed down to you from your parents, and then all the experiences you had during these times. If we don't pass those things down, then the next generations are just starting over from square one.
My father died when I was 13. I'm an only child. My mother died when I was 16. So I've been on my own since I was 16.
Right.
And had it not been for the Marine Corps, there's no telling what would happen to me. You know, I mean,
Sure. You're going the wrong direction.
the Marine Corps
It's your family.
set my future, you might say. And I just went to Paris Island a few weeks ago. My grandson just graduated from Paris Island.
Mm-hmm.
And driving on the base was almost emotional,
Right.
you know. And it still is to this day.
I feel the same thing about the same way about the Navy for me. College right out of high school was not for me. It was not for me. I did not know how to handle myself at that point. I was too immature.
I had a full ride scholarship
Right.
to the University of Miami.
Right.
And I said, you don't want me going to Miami. Because all
No,
I do
oh my
is chase
gosh.
skirts.
Yeah.
And all I want to do is waste your money.
Yeah.
You know, give it to somebody that's going to use it for something.
Right.
And then
Well, I got to see the world. I got to see the world in the Navy. Spent a lot of time in the Middle East, Asia. You know, stationed in San Diego, which is nice.
I should have thought to bring my clothing bag down here. I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
I had, when I first got in the Marine Corps, I first got situated at New River, some old salt had written on his sea bag everywhere he'd been. And
Yeah.
I thought, that's pretty cool, I need to do that. So
Right.
I got the guys in Parallel to make me a clothing bag.
Yeah.
And I wrote on there all the places that I've been.
Right.
When I go through an airport with that clothing bag on my shoulder, everybody stops and says, Jesus, look at that guy, man. Look at all the places he's been. You know, because all these years I was in the military, 33 years, you're gone all the time.
Right.
You know? And my grandson, before he joined the Marine Corps, I pulled that out and I said, I want you just to see this. Now this is what you can do. He said, oh my God, you've been all those places. I said, some of them 2 and 3 times. You know, like we went to Panama, shoot, all the time. We were in Panama a lot.
Did you like
In
Panama?
the Air Corps. Yeah, I love Panama.
Yeah.
I like it a lot. Good
Really
place to
like
get
that.
knifed to get the wrong area
Get
in
knifed,
Panama
yeah.
City,
Right.
but other than that, I love it.
Other than that, it's great.
I love Panama. I mean, you stay out, you learn where to go and where not to go.
Sure.
You know. But, yeah, I like Panama a lot.
The Navy allowed me to become independent
Mm-hmm.
and grow up
Yeah.
a little bit and get out on my own and, you know, just get my feet under me and realize one of the things my dad always said, I realized to be true. I was enlisted. I went in and enlisted, okay? And my dad said when he was in the Navy too, he was also stationed in San Diego during Vietnam, actually. He worked on subs. He was on a sub tender, okay? And he said, you know, I figured out pretty quickly the only difference between myself and the officer was a piece of paper.
That's right.
So that inspired him to come straight out and go get his engineering degree, okay? And which made a great life for us, you know? And I figured that out very quickly as well, is that there's not, that's the difference. There's, you know, I was as smart as them, or smarter in a lot of cases. But the only difference was that piece of
My
paper.
grandson lived with us during his senior year in high school. Mother
Mhm.
going through a divorce and this and that. And I said, just come live with us. So he did. And so my wife, who I love dearly, she said,
Nothing against officers, by the
No,
way.
no.
A lot of good officers.
she said, Zay, let's go upstairs. I want to show you your papa's armoire. He went, what? She said, just come up here. So I opened it up and all my t-shirts are folded just so, and my socks and my underwear and all that stuff. And he just looked at me and went, wow. She said, that's what the Marine Corps does for you. She said, when we first got married, she said, he had to show me how to fold his underwear.
Yeah.
Because if it wasn't folded just so, he would just refold it, you know. She said, I just learned to do it.
I used to iron my underwear, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah.
My wife is freaked out. I would
Yeah.
like have boxer shorts with creases in
Oh,
it.
yeah. Been there, done that, lots of times. But
She's like, what are
anyway,
you doing? I'm like, I'm ironing my boxer shorts.
that same way, she said, what are you doing? I said, I'm ironing my t-shirt.
Yeah.
Well, why are you ironing your t-shirt? I said, just humor.
But
That's just
but
what
you
I do.
feel better
Yeah.
when you're right. I mean, that's when I put on a suit. People, oh, you got court today? No, this is my uniform.
Yeah.
You
This is
know,
what I put on every day.
the way that the t-shirts are folded
Yeah.
makes them fit in a very small space.
It does. It's so you can put them in a rack or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I learned that from a veteran.
And I was telling my grandson, They do things differently than they did when I went to boot camp. They issue everything to him. All of his, what we used to call 782 gears, the field gear, the wheel gear and all that stuff, it's all issued to them. So they gotta haul that mess around with them every time they go someplace.
Right.
I said, did they show you how to pack a sea bag? Well, no. I said, they didn't show you how to pack a sea bag? I said, I have to show you how to pack a sea bag so you can get all your stuff in it. So he was home, I said, well, let me just show you. So I started rolling everything up,
Yeah, you roll it.
you know, and put it in there.
I roll my socks and my ties.
Yeah, he said, well, gosh, I said, look, I said, you wouldn't believe what you can get in the sea bag if you do it right. I said, you can get so much in there you can't pick the thing up. You know, you get everything in there. And I said, did they not show you how to fold your dress uniform so it will get wrinkled? He said, well, no. I said, well, let me show you. So, you know, you tuck your sleeve inside the other sleeve, you know, and then you roll the thing inside out so it's not wrinkled. He went, well, that's pretty cool. I said, well, that's, you know, somebody's gonna teach you how to do that sooner or later. You know, I didn't do that on my own. The Marine Corps did that. And when you have to jump on the bunk, soap clothing inspection, I said, you just unroll it and it's all not wrinkled and it looks good. I said, whereas if you just stuff it in a bag, I said, it's gonna look like a whoop when you get it out of there. And you can't fold it, because if you fold it, that leaves creases. So, you know. He said, I got a lot to learn. I said, what do you learn? You know. So,
I mean, I think our society's a lot more casual now, too, you know, which bothers me sometimes.
me too. It does. It really does.
It's just like a little less discipline.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I wound up being a high school teacher, and I taught electronics and physics at Barnes. And my kids in my classroom, well, this is crazy. When I first started teaching, at the end of your senior year, you have your final exam. My last question on all of my final exams is, what do you like and what do you not like? Don't say fire the teacher, because he's not going to give me some positive feedback. I can't tell you how many times I've got the same thing. We enjoy the discipline in your classroom. And I thought, of all things. And I
People
asked
crave
the kids,
discipline. Kids crave discipline.
I asked the kids, I said, why is that? They said, because when we come in your classroom, we know how far we can go. We should go there. If we go over the line, we're going to get killed. But if we go up to the line, we can go up to the line and stay there. But in other classrooms, we don't know. And it creates stress because we don't know where to go. We don't know how far we can go. We don't know what we can do. So when there's no question.
Well, in society as a whole,
that's it.
and school systems need to back that up with teachers, because it doesn't do the kids any good if you can't give them some discipline.
So my discipline was, I'm never going to send you to the office. I don't care what you do, you're not going to the office.
Right.
I'm going to take care of it right here, right now. It's going to be handled. And I never sent a kid to the office. I taught for 30 years. Just didn't have to, because the kids knew. I think they respected me enough. Number one, not to pull any kind of crazy jump. You know.
Right.
I mean, I said, look, if you want to play a practical joke on me, I'm all for it, as long as you don't hurt anybody or damage any equipment. I said, I'm good to go. I'll laugh as hard as you do. Make it a good one, because I've seen all of them, but make it a good one. I said, I'll laugh harder than you do, you know. And they pull that junk on me once in a while, which is fine. It's funny. But my deal was, if you're, for instance, late getting in the classroom, late means your butt's not in the seat. It doesn't mean you're coming in the door. It means your butt's not in the seat when the bell rings. So just don't even say a word to me. Just go back in the back of the room, drop down, give me 25 push-ups.
Nice.
First time. Second time, it's 50. Third time, it's 100. Fourth time, it's 200. Fifth time, it's 400. It doubles every time. You understand where this is going? Yeah, okay. So that was it.
It's a lot of push-ups. I'm
You
afraid
know
to do
what?
400
That's
push-ups.
I think
deal.
there's some who couldn't do the first 29.
Probably.
I got 90 minutes.
Yeah, I can do 400
90 minutes. So that, always have one do this, young kids especially. They never had me before. I can't do 25 push-ups. I said, I'll tell you what, partner. I said, I'll do a one-arm push-up for every two-arm push-up you do.
My dad could, my grandfather could do the one that was in World War II in the Army. He could do
So-
one arm push-ups.
Yeah, so I said, okay, show me what you can do. So they do 25 push-ups, then if it killed them.
Yeah.
You know, if it broke their back, they're gonna do 25 push-ups. They're gonna see me do 25 one-arm push-ups, you know. So I only had to do that one time ago.
Hey, let's see.
We're not missing this old guy.
I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna show you my grandfather's World War II interview that I did when I was 11. And thank you for joining us for Lunch with a Veteran. This has been Bob Cabaniss, twice recipient, two-time recipient of the Purple Heart, Vietnam veteran, and member of the Marine Corps League, and former enlisted Marine, and member of the Army and Air Force. So, very, very rare individual. Thank you. Hey, thanks for sitting down with me. I appreciate it.